Hello and welcome to the World Cup Round 6, game number 2. My name is Arkady Naiditsch and I'm going to comment live today on the second game. So let's go straight into the game. Pairing number 1, we have Sindarov and Martinez. Martinez yesterday managed to play a very safe game with a black color and managed to make quite a good draw. Today with the white pieces, as we can already see, the game has ended into a draw and we see the line of the 4 knights. Knight takes e5. It is considered to be just a draw. We have the move d5. All is well known here. d5 is the main continuation for black. It is getting quite sharp, but all is analyzed. So we have nothing new happening here for the moment. Long castle, all is theory. Bishop e3, take, and rook e8 as well. Rook e8 is the main move for black. Black is sacrificing the exchange, but we have here the king on e1. Very bad position for the king. c3, take, and queen h4. All is still theory. We see as well Martinez with 1 hour 30 on the clock, 1:32 for Sindarov. King d2 is the main move for white. Take, rook takes e3. By the way, a nice move, but it is a well-known move, so there have been already many games that ended up in this position, and it is a forced draw. Bishop f3, bishop e3 check, king has to be moved, take, and queen e2. Yes, it is all well known, and there is no way for white to avoid this queen d3 coming next. So the best move is to play the move a4, and now we see the perpetual check. So just a straight draw out of opening. Was it an interesting game? No. This is not an interesting game as well. It was very fastly played by both of the players. So a draw. I think it's a good result actually for Martinez Alcantara, who is very strong in rapid and in blitz chess. So obviously the plan of Martinez Alcantara is to get the match into this more action scenario, so rapid chess, eventually blitz chess, where he feels himself very comfortable. On the other hand, Sindarov is a favorite in the classical chess, but in rapid and blitz I don't think so. I think they are approximately equal. In blitz chess I would give even to Martinez Alcantara. I would rather prefer him. So let's see what happens tomorrow in the tiebreaks. I think these are going to be very exciting and very well tiebreaks. Both of the guys are young. Both of the guys are very strong in rapid and blitz. So it's going to be very exciting. Let's go for the second game of today. It is between Erigaisi and Wei. Yesterday we saw quite a fast draw. So today Erigaisi with the white pieces, and I think Erigaisi is afraid of no one. So he just plays his game. He's doing super well during the World Cup. He showed fantastic preparation as well with the white pieces and with the black pieces. So Erigaisi is pushing. We can expect today as well that he will try to push for a win with the white pieces. The current position, it seems to be approximately equal to me. Maybe some slight advantage for white because of the d5 pawn, but it's not much. We have as well opposite color bishops now on the board, so the tendency towards a draw is very high. Let's see from move number 1. We have d4, d5, c4, e6, queens, gambit. Very solid setup for black. And c takes d5, e takes d5, knight c3, c6. It is the main move. Bishop f4. So the idea of the move c6 is to get bishop f5 as fast as possible. The moment the bishop gets to f5, black is usually doing fine. So bishop f4, bishop f5 played by black. Yes, knight h4. So this is maybe the idea of Erigaisi. We have 1 hour 33 for white. So it's definitely his preparation. Knight h5 played by Wei. So as well Wei, he knows the move knight h4. By the way, so funny. Have you ever seen knight h4, knight h5, bishop f4, bishop f5? What a constellation. Just funny. So we don't have, we have of course bishop e6, something normal for black, but we see in the game knight h5, Knight takes f5, knight takes f4, g3, knight e6. Yes, I think this position looks just equal. e3. Still, Erigaisi is in his preparation. By the way, to play g3 followed by e3, also quite spectacular, because white can just play immediately the move e3. But we see the move g3 and then e3. I don't know actually where is the big difference. I think it would lead more or less to the same. Knight d7, queen b3, queen b6. All is pretty normal. Queen c2, because now black wants to take on b3, which would lead to an equal endgame. Queen c2, g6, safe setup for black. Bishop g7, bishop g2, short castle, yeah. I believe this position is just equal. I don't see why white should be better here. Yes, it is a long game, and both colors, of course, can show the dominance, but objectively speaking, currently we see just an equal position out of the opening. So, quite nicely done by Wei. 1 hour 28 for Erigaisi, 1 hour 25 for Wei. We have rook e8 getting the rook into the game. This always makes sense. Knight f3 back, rook c8, preparing eventually the move c5, which is by far not a must. Rook e1. So Erigaisi is provoking Wei a little bit into playing this move c5, which is currently not possible because the d5 pawn is hanging. So we have knight f6. Eventually now c5 is possible. The knight defends the pawn on d5. Rook c1. Now we have the move c5 being played. Move c5, it can be good, but on the other hand, it might lead to a slightly worse position for black. I don't know if this was the best decision by black, because I think black can just continue playing very safe. So for example, to play something like a5, just keep on waiting. The queen might go queen d8, queen e7, or the queen can be placed on a7 square. In both cases, I believe the position of black is very safe. I don't see what should be the idea of white. Eventually, the idea of white could be somewhere to play the move knight e5. But what's next? To push e4 should be not the right choice for white. To go knight to d3, the question is what's next? To play something like f4 doesn't help much either. So I don't know. I don't know what is the plan of white here. Maybe Erigaisi. He had a plan, but it's very hard to see. So I believe the position is equal. Still, we have the move c5 been played. So take rook takes. Now the bishop on g7 is getting very active. On the other hand, we have this isolated pawn on d5, which is a long-term weakness. Interesting. So queen e2. The idea of queen e2 is this little trap, knight a4, attacking the queen on b6 and the rook c5. So we plays queen c6, very, very logical, stacking up the pieces on the c-file, avoiding the trick with the move knight a4, and eventually black is preparing to go knight e4 next. Knight e4, good move. Bishop on g7 comes into the game, pressure on the c-file, and if this would be not enough, there is also rook c8 eventually coming next. So we have like triple action on the c-file, so black is gonna outpush the rook from c1, and for example rook d1 is looking pretty normal for white, because this huge pressure on the c-file is so unpleasant. The question is, after rook gets to d1, is it possible for black to play something like knight e4? So we play knight to e4, activating the bishop on g7. Very hard to see why white should be better here. I believe it is just an equal position, and in case it is an equal position, the game most probably going to end into a quite fast draw. So Erigaisi has to find something. If he finds nothing, most probably we are going to see a draw and a tiebreak tomorrow of the both titans. So we have Erigaisi with 2,769 and Wei with 2,752, by far the strongest pairing of the quarterfinals. I think the winner of this match has a high chance to win the World Cup. Very, very important match for both of the players. The top 3 seeds are qualifying for the candidates, so the stakes could not be higher. Very, very important match for both of the players. We have currently 42 minutes for Erigaisi and 53 minutes for Wei. After queen c6, Wei thought so long before playing, more than half an hour of thinking before playing the move queen c6. Wow, this is a lot of thinking. So Erigaisi is hoping to find now something to put Wei in some trouble. We have the move knight d2 been played quite fast by Erigaisi, still 37 minutes on the clock. A lot of time for Erigaisi. Now pressure on the pawn d5. But is this pressure dangerous? I don't think so. I think black is doing fine. The problem is that eventually white wants to play knight to b3. This is a dangerous threat, so knight b3 is quite serious. Black has to act against the move knight to b3. Let's see what Wei has planned, because by playing queen c6, probably he saw the option knight d2. Otherwise, it would be a big surprise actually if he did not. Maybe we're gonna see something like queen c8 back. The idea of queen c8 back is to get out of this very unpleasant pin and to hope to play d4 next. Still, knight b3 is possible. Knight is attacking the rook, and in case the rook should go away somewhere to c7, for example, there is knight takes d5. So now white is winning the pawn. Still, things are far from easy because black can take on d5, bishop takes on d5, and eventually go knight to d4. So knight d4, very, very tricky move, attacking the queen with a check. In case white would make the mistake to take, then we take on, mouse slip, then we take rook takes c1, and black is winning an exchange. So this trick with a knight d4 might give a chance to black to survive the game. Still, things are complex. White is definitely pushing here. Eventually white can just go away like queen to d3, and in case of knight takes b3, we have this move in between. Rook takes c7 first, and then we win the knight back with queen takes b3, opposite color bishop positions, white is a pawn up. So this position would be actually quite tough to hold for black. Let's see what Wei has planned after the move knight to d2. Very, very interesting. Wei is thinking just 15 minutes left for the 19 moves remaining. Wei is in time trouble. It's gonna be a very, very interesting push. Erigaisi definitely is aiming to push Wei on the limit. It's gonna be very, very interesting to watch. The third pairing between Esipenko and Shankland. Yesterday we saw Shankland trying to put a pressure on Esipenko with the white pieces. He managed to get eventually some chances, but with excellent defense, Esipenko managed to equalize, so it was a draw. Today Esipenko was a white color trying to push against Shankland. Let's take a look first at the current position. We have this queen h8 giving check to the king on b2. A quite unpleasant check. White has to do something against the check. In case white would defend with a move e5, then we have this idea of knight e7, knight f5 somewhere. Difficult decision for white, because e5, it can be good, it can be bad, and here I think it's maybe not the best. After the move e5 as well, black might just play simple move like rook f8, putting some pressure on the f4 pawn. Afterwards there is queen h4, again more pressure on the f4 pawn, so e5 is probably not the best. In case white is not playing the move f5, let's say we go like king b1, black has a choice. Simple queen h1 check is looking very nice because we might win the pawn on e4. And in case black wants, black can just repeat the moves by playing queen h8 back and hoping to win the tiebreak tomorrow. Shankland managed to win both of his last tiebreaks. Spectacular tiebreak against Ruppert. I had a feeling that Ruppert should be a big favorite, but actually Shankland won it very convincingly with 2-0, and then he beat as well Dubov 2-0 in a rapid tiebreak. Quite spectacular result by Shankland, because Dubov is one of the best rapid and blitz players in the world. To beat Dubov 2-0, incredible result for Shankland, so he's in a great shape. Let's see if actually we see c3 move been played. I think after the move c3, it's only black that can play for a win. Now the white king is quite open, so black can play a simple move like d takes e4. I think the position is just a draw. The rooks are gonna be changed and that's it. But maybe Shankland is going to play for a win. We have 38 minutes for Shankland and just 22 for Esipenko. Move 30. Still 10 moves to go till the time trouble are over. So after move 40, the players are gaining extra 30 minutes. Very interesting what is gonna do now Shankland to make a draw with the move d takes e4, or maybe Shankland will try to dominate on the h-file. Very, very possible. So Shankland has to take a decision, make a draw, go for the tie breaks, or eventually try to push in the classical chess for a full point. Objectively speaking, I think it's difficult to push for a win, but eventually it's possible to create some small trouble to white. Probably we are going to see a draw here, but still it's not 100%. So let's see what is going to happen next. We have Donchenko and Yakubboev. So we have Donchenko in a must-win situation currently with the white pieces. Yesterday, Yakubboev won against Donchenko. So it's 1-0 for Yakubboev. He just needs a draw with the black pieces to get into the next round of the World Cup. Of course, it's a huge milestone. So white has to win. We have an endgame. And I believe that it seems to be very hard for white to even to consider playing for a win, because how you do that, the black pieces are very well placed. There is pressure on the e file, there is a pressure on the b file. What to do for white here? Yes, black's pawn structure is not the best with the pawns f5 and f7, but how to break this wall of the black pawns? Very difficult to do that. So Donchenko has to do something spectacular to even get a chance to play for a win. Maybe he's hoping somewhere to play move like g4, but it is not really helping because black can just take on g4. The g4 pawn cannot be taken with a rook. b2 pawn is falling, and in case of f takes g4, now the square e4 is getting very weak. So as well here, it's difficult to play for a win with the white pieces. Yes, it is a game. Yes, of course, game continues. So, of course, maybe Donchenko will get actually some winning chances. Who knows? But objectively speaking, I believe position should be around equal. In this position, for example, maybe knight e4 is not the best to play instantly knight e4, but maybe just to play f6. So a calm waiting move. We stop white from playing g5. Pawns are equal, and a good moment we're going to play knight to e4. The only downside of the black pieces that I see here is the rook on b5. So the rook can be, of course, very, very good here on b5 because it makes pressure on the pawn b2. On the other hand, just imagine if we see some action on the king side. Let's say white will manage to transport the rook from c3 maybe over c1 to, I don't know, g1 or something like that, and then to push g5 in a good moment, then rook on b5 is going to be out of the game. So this is like the only downside that I see for black. Still, I believe that position should be around equal and actually very, very safe for black. We have currently Donchenko with 35 minutes on the clock. We have Yakubboev with 22 minutes. It looks like currently Yakubboev has excellent chance to hold this game into a draw and get to the next round of the World Cup. Let us take a brief look actually how we got here. So we have c4 played by Donchenko, e6, knight c3, d5. So another game on the Queen's Gambit structure, which is considered to be one of the safest structures for black on the move c4 or d4. So d4, knight f6, cd, ed. This is called classical Queen's Gambit. Bishop g5, the main move, c6, the main answer, and bishop f5, queen f3. All that is very well known. Bishop g6, take, 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 take. So what do we have? We have an endgame where black has slightly worse pawn structure by having the double pawns. On the other hand, black is having bishop pair. There have been many great games here by Vladimir Kramnik, who I think introduced a lot of ideas here for white, how to try to play this endgame for a win, but objectively speaking, it's a difficult task to win this position. So I think good opening choice by Yakubboev. On the other hand, Donchenko maybe thought that he might outplay Yakubboev in a long game, because now it's a long game. White can play for very, very long time here. We have knight f3, all is theory, a5 as well. Typical computer move, a5, because it's theory. Human would never do a5, except you know that a5 is best. So computer lines, knight h4, this is the point of Donchenko. Knight is taking beautiful position on h4. And eventually the idea of white would be put another piece here on f5. So for example, the idea of white could be king d2, bishop d3, and then we control the square f5. Then white is doing a little better. Or we have another idea which looks a bit strange, but actually is not so bad. It is to play f4 somewhere. So we want to play f4 and actually to catch the bishop on g6. Or to force black to play f5, but f5, now this bishop on g6 is really poorly placed. So f5 could be played by black, but is very, very dangerous, of course. So we have a third idea for white. It is to go knight e2, followed by knight to g3, and then we get the knight to f5 as well. A nice idea. Black has to avoid all of that. So we have the move bishop b4 being played. We have a pin, a rook c1, because actually black wants to take now on c3. So for example, in case of a3, black might consider taking on c3 and play a move like a4, for example. The next move for black would be to play b5 to block everything. And then we have to get the knight from b8 to the square d6. And in case we manage to get the knight to d6 position is just equal. That's why we have the move rook c1 been played after bishop b4. So now in case of bishop c3, obviously the rook is going to take on c3. Knight d7, pretty normal. Bishop e2, still theory, 133 on the clock of Donchenko. a4, a3, bishop takes c3, rook takes c3, and king d8. King d8 is looking a bit strange to me. I don't understand why to play king to d8. The idea might be to play rook to e8 next, but strange position for the black king. Usually black is putting the king to e7, then black is playing moves like knight b6, knight c8, knight to d6. And this is a usual play by black. In the game we have this king d8. Very difficult to say why king is so nicely placed on d8. g3. 10 minutes of thinking for Donchenko. Till here Donchenko played instantly. But here he thought for 10 minutes and played the move g3, solid play, knight b6, so probably we see knight c8, knight d6 coming next, knight to g2, knight f4. So the knight on h4 done its job. Now it's time to put the knight to a beta square, f4, but is it a beta square? This is the question. So very difficult to say if the idea of Donchenko is actually the best that white could do. G3 followed by knight g2, knight f4, interesting. Because I think there is another idea to play just simple move like knight, like bishop g4. So we stop black from playing f5, we control the square f5, and we hope to be a little bit better eventually by playing in the future. So for example, bishop g4 was a future plan in a good moment to play bishop f5 or knight f5 and to force bishop takes f5, which is difficult to force, but eventually if we do it in the right time, in the right moment, it might be possible. I don't know. We have the move g3, knight b6, bishop, knight g2, knight c8, all is normal, knight d6. How should we evaluate such a position? I believe it should be close to equal. Yes, still the bad pawn structure by black, but we have a nice pawn on a4. There is an idea of getting the rook to the b file, so some pressure, plus huge knight on d6. And how actually to play for a win this position with a white piece is very, very difficult. White has to find something spectacular to play for a win, because all black will do now is just to keep on waiting. Put, for example, a rook to e8 and just wait. And for white, hard to improve the position. We have the move h4 been played, which is normal, and here Yakubboev takes an interesting decision, is to play bishop b1. Quite a fresh idea, because it's not a normal play. Something usual would be to play h6, because we have this h5 threat somewhere, so instead of bishop b1, h6. And in case white takes on g6, then we have the good pawn structure. In case white is not taking on g6, and what white is gonna do next. Instead of h6, we have bishop b1. Very interesting idea. Bishop gets over a to 2c4. So very interesting. Not sure it is the best, but it is for sure very interesting. f3, quite logical, because king f2 is coming next. f5 to stop white from e4 and g4. The question is, maybe white could have continued instantly with the move g4. Was it possible to play g4? Because now there is no more f5 because we might go g5. Interesting. Maybe Donchenko could have tried to play g4. We have f3 first. Now f5, good move. No more g4, no more e4. King f2, attacking the bishop on b1. Bishop goes a2. Bishop c4 is going to be played next. The move bishop d3 is obviously avoiding this bishop c4. Still, bishop c4 is possible, but now bishop b1, putting the pressure on the f5 pawn. Because for white to change these bishops would be not a good decision for white. White has to keep the light square bishop, so bishop b1 and h6. White to play h6. I don't know. I don't know why to play h6 now, because I think maybe black could have continued straight away with rook a6 or rook f5, trying to put some pressure on the b file. We have first the move h6 been played. Interesting, because not obvious what is the plan of black. Rook g1, maybe g4 is coming. Now we have rook g8, avoiding the push g4, and king to g2. King g2. Where is the white king going? White king eventually goes to h2, but what's the point of having the king on h2? I don't know. I don't know if this been the right decision by Donchenko. I think instead of king g2, he has to push at some moment the move g4. There is no other way to play for a win with the white pieces, so the g4 move has to be played. Donchenko hoped to play this positional long game, but king on h2, why is it such a great position for the white king? Hard to see. So I think that black is doing perfectly fine. We have the move rook e8, black just keeps on waiting, and we have the move rook to b3. So Yakubboev thought it's time to change the rooks. Why not? Still, black is doing rock solid with his double pawns, but it is protected by the knight on d6. So the idea of white remains to play g4 in the right moment. Currently we have the e3 pawn just being under attack. So knight g2 played by Donchenko, and it is black to play. Yakubboev is thinking we are currently move 30, 10 moves to go until the time trouble will be over. So what can we do here with the black pieces? I think there is a plan of playing king to e7 followed by king f6. It's good to have an active king, so I guess king on f6 is going to take a nice position. This is a defense plan for black, but I'm not sure that black actually has to defend, because maybe black should be doing something more active. For example, we have knight c4, very interesting. Bishop d1 played by Yakubboev. But let's us take a look at the move knight c4. Black wants to attack the pawn e3 and just take it. So what should white do? Is there a defense for white? Because in case white is going to take the pawn f5, and after knight takes e3, I believe this is just a draw. So many pieces been changed. The only hope for white is to get like g4, g5, and then the h1, but it takes way too long. I believe this is just a draw. Very interesting that Yakubboev is not going for it, because it seems to be just excellent for black. Black wants to hold a draw, and it seems like this position should be a draw. So why not to go knight c4? Maybe I'm missing something, but I think knight c4 would give excellent play to black. Ooh, just knight takes e3 next in case of rook e2, defending the pawn on e3. Now we have the move bishop d1, and yeah, that's it. So why not to play knight c4 by black? I don't know. We have the move bishop d1 been played. Yes, bishop d1 as well. Quite a nice move, because now the rook on f2 is pinned to defending the pawn on f3. So we have this attack. Then in case of rook f1, we just can go bishop e2 back, rook f2, and go bishop d1 back. So like this, white is unable to improve the position. How can black improve his position? There is a way to by playing b6 followed by c5. So we start to make some pressure on the queen side as well. Still, the idea of king f8, king e7, king f6 is looking nice. Later, we're gonna play the move knight c4 with a pressure on e3. So objectively speaking, I don't see chances for Donchenko to be back in the match. position is looking approximately equal. That's perfect for Yakubboev, because all he needs is to make a draw to get to the next round. So draw, and Yakubboev is in the next round in the half finals of the World Cup. Very difficult situation for Donchenko. How to play this position for a win, I don't know it, and I believe as well Donchenko is not sure what to play next, because it seems like the game is going to end into a draw and he is out of the World Cup. Very pity for the German player. He had a great World Cup, so doing so well, and might be now not enough, so it might be his last game in India, in Goa, for the World Cup. Let's see what happened in Sindarov Martinez. We know it was a perpetual draw, so let's go for the next game. It is Wei Erigaisi. So late, the last move we have seen, it was a move knight to d2, was the idea knight b3. Now Wei was a move knight d7. So it's getting a crazy game. Knight to d7, attacking the knight on c3, but now the pawn on d5 is pretty weak as well. Knight to b3 is being played. Bishop takes c3. B pawn takes c3. So what would happen in case we take the rook on c5? It seems like black can take on e1 and that's it, because there is no good move with a knight from c5. All that white can do is, for example, I don't know, to go back to d3, because still we have the spin on the c file. So in case white is going back knight to d3, then the question would be why actually white is doing better. So for example, we go queen a6 to have the spin. Now the bishop has to be taken with a rook on e1, and black has, I think, few ways to equalize here. It does not look like a better position for white. So after bishop takes c3, we have b takes c3, rook takes, and queen d2. Beautiful move by Erigaisi, but I think that eventually white is doing better. White is doing already better as well. Question would be, why not to take bishop takes d5? So little tactics. Attacking the queen on c6 in case black rook takes on c1. Obviously white would take on c6, so this is much better for white. What would Wei do after the move bishop takes d5? I believe that black has to take on d5, so black is sacrificing an exchange, and maybe to play knight to g5. So we want to go knight h3 check to the white king, or knight to f3 check. The only moves that I see is possible to do for white to defend from knight h3 and knight to f3 is to play e4, because there is nothing else. In case we go like knight to d4, then it's just a checkmate on knight h3 followed by queen h1 with a checkmate. This is not a way to play for white, so e4 has to be played. But now we have the move rook takes e4. So again, looks like a problem for white. Queen is under attack. In case queen goes back, let's say f1, or I don't know actually where to go back. I think maybe white is just lost, because in case of queen f1, we have this knight h3 check, very beautiful check. In case queen takes the knight, then we go rook takes e1, and it is a mate. In case king on g2, then we're gonna play rook takes e1 with a check from the queen on d5, and it's just over. So beautiful trap by Wei. Wei so tricky. He hoped that Erigaisi is gonna miss it and play bishop takes d5, but of course Erigaisi, one of the best players in the world, he is not missing such tricks. So I have the move queen d2, putting pressure on the rook c3, and as well bishop takes d5 is going to be played next by white. Now black is in some trouble, so I think not big trouble yet, but black is doing slightly worse. I would anticipate rook takes c1, rook takes c1, and queen is under attack, so we have to go somewhere. Let's say queen d6, queen takes d5. Now white might go for an endgame, and the endgame is slightly better for white because we have the bishop, and usually bishop is dominating the knight in a long run, so especially in an endgame. So bishop d5 takes, b7 pawn is under attack. For example, something like b6, trying to get the knight to c5, but still this is looking a bit better for white. And I think white can even choose maybe to take on e6. We give up on our bishop, but there is rook c7 attacking the knight on d7, and as well the pawn on a7. Can black survive here? It is not going to be an easy task to survive here. Black is in trouble, so maybe Wei is actually in trouble, so maybe his decision to think here before playing queen c6. He sought for over 30 minutes, as we can see, 53 minutes on the clock before playing the move queen c6. After queen c6, just 17. So too long to think for 35 minutes. Maybe it was just too much of thinking, and position, I believe, should be approximately equal. So Wei could have played something simple here. There is no reason to complicate the things like that, but we have the move queen c6, knight d7, and here we go with the move queen d2. Wei actually took, and he played the move queen a6, not the move queen d6 like we thought. Still, I think it does not change much. The position of white is looking better. White can choose to take with the queen, attacking the knight on d7 plus attacking the pawn on b7, or to take with the bishop now on d5. In both cases, white is doing slightly better. This is a better position for Erigaisi. Also much more time on the clock. 30 minutes versus 6. Wei is in big trouble. Could it be that we are going to see next to Yakubboev already the second guy getting to the half finals? It would be Erigaisi. He is so close. So close. He's having a better position, much more time. We are currently move 26, still 14 moves to do for Wei in just 6 minutes. Very difficult task. Let us take a look at the game of Esipenko against Shankland, and indeed we see a draw. So this is what we've been talking about, that most probably we are going to see a draw. We saw the move c3. Now we've been talking about if black can try here to play for a win or just to make a draw with the move d takes e4. We see d takes e4. So this is just a play for a draw. King c2, very safe play by white, because in case white takes on e4, there is this unpleasant check on d2, for example, queen on c2, queen e3. White knight is pinned, no moves because the a4 pawn has to be protected. There is no moves by the white queen because white queen has to protect the knight on e2. This would be slightly unpleasant position for white, and black might improve with the move knight e7 next, followed by, for example, knight d5 or knight to f5. Obviously not the best move to take on e4, so that's why we see the move king c2, avoiding this queen to d2, e5. Nice play by Shankland. We have this sort of long-term weakness with the pawns e6, g6, so time to change them, e5. Now white is taking on e4, and yes, we see this massive exchange of material, and position is just a draw. So both players agreed to a draw. Tomorrow we're going to see very interesting rapid match between Esipenko and Shankland. Esipenko, he is quite good in rapid chess and in blitzes, so in a normal case Esipenko should be favored, but Shankland crashing Rapport and then Dubov. Both of these players are top 10 players in rapid and blitz chess, so very impressive play by Shankland. He is in a huge shape, so hard to say who is going to be the favorite tomorrow. I think very interesting match to watch. Let's go back to Donchenko and Yakubboev. We saw the move bishop d1 been played by Yakubboev. Now we have bishop d3. Let's see what is the idea of Donchenko, maybe to avoid knight c4. Now we have b5 being played by Yakubboev. So still, I don't see how white should improve the current position. The rook might be moved to f1, but it's not a big help because rook f1, just simple bishop on b3. Black wants to change the bishop by playing bishop c4, so here we have this pin. In case white rook goes, let's say, e1, defending the pawn on e3, black can still play this king f6 idea, so king e7, king f6, or just to play first maybe bishop c4, so simple move, attacking the bishop, bishop has to go back, and we might just return bishop b3 with the idea of playing knight c4 next, and probably white has nothing better than to repeat the moves, because in case of knight c4 we attack the pawn e3, we attack the pawn b2. It doesn't look like white should have here any kind of winning chances, at least I don't see them for the moment. So for the moment Yakubboev is doing very well. We have the move rook c1 been played. I don't think it changes much. Black can play the simple king d7 or bishop c4. Both is looking very, very solid. Probably white should come back with the king from h2 over g1 to f2 because king is really doing so badly on h2. I don't know why Donchenko has put his king to h2. I think it was not the best idea ever. So time to go back with a king. And then let's see, maybe white is going to play something like knight f4. So with black, I think bishop c4 is looking pretty solid now. Still, position remains equal, but it could be theoretically still a very, very long game in case white is in time to play king g1 followed by king f2. The question for me still remains, why actually bishop to d1? Why not knight c4? This is something I don't get it, because I think it's just a straight draw. Attacking the pawn on e3, and yeah, knight takes e3. The pawn is hanging, so what to do for white? I think there is nothing else. And then to take on f5, we take on e3, and I think this is just a straight draw. There is nothing to play for. King e7, king f6 is next, so there is nothing connected to this g4, g5. Then black can even try to play b6, c5, so I think black is completely out of risk here. Instead, we have this bishop d1 move, little strange. Still, of course, position is equal, but just white do that for Yakubboev, little bit strange play. Let's go back to Erigaisi and Wei. Yes, hi in the chat. Please, in case you have a question, you can always ask it in the chat. I would be happy to answer. Don't be shy. Write your thoughts in the chat. And of course, subscribe, give the channel a like. We are a new channel. Every like, every subscription helps. Yeah, thank you for that in advance. Let's see, Erigaisi against Wei. So the last position we have seen after queen a6. Now bishop takes d5, knight f6, and bishop just goes back. Yeah, very, very logical. So now we have this powerful bishop on g2 versus less powerful knight on f6. I think it's a beautiful example that bishop is absolute monster on g2. It is cutting the knight on f6 or knight on f6 almost without any useful moves. For black, it would be great to change something. So in case you are defending, you should aim for a change, but it's difficult to change the rook, it's difficult to change the queens. Black is in trouble. We have knight e8 played by Wei, so we see he is suffering a lot with a knight. Knight e8, what could be the next move of black? Maybe to play something like knight d6, but the question remains, where does the knight go? Erigaisi 24 minutes, and we have just 4 minutes 40 for Wei, so black is under huge pressure. Maybe Erigaisi could play a positional move right now like h4. So usually to play h4, it's a nice positional touch because we have this escape room for the white king in case we need it. And as well, the next move of white could be to play h5 followed by h6 in a combination with the queen b2. It's quite unpleasant for black in case the white pawn gets to h6. Probably black is going to play now the move h5 because there is nothing better that black could hope for. And now we need to think with white. So now this is an important position. We have to find a way to do something. Maybe we should try to put the queen somewhere to e5. Central position is a beautiful square for the white queen, but currently we have the a2 pawn being under attack. So we have to be careful, maybe to play something like rook c2 first, so the rook would defend the pawn on a2, and then we want to play queen e5. This could be a positional solution. As well, white might try to play knight to d2, also looks pretty nice, because we have this pressure on the b7 pawn, and as well, knight e4 is coming next. Just imagine after b6, knight e4. The position of the black knight on e8. Horrible. This is a horrible knight on e8, completely dominated by the white knight on e4. So obviously white is doing a lot better here. Very difficult position for Wei. So let's see what Erigaisi is gonna play. He played instantly the move knight to do d2. So without the move h4, straight knight d2, b7 pawn is under attack, knight e4 is coming next. And Wei with the move queen e2. Nice pin on the second rank. The question is, how useful is the pin? Is there just rook to c2, a defense? Because for sure Erigaisi thought of something. I don't think he has missed the move queen e2. Is it possible that he has missed the move? We are going to see it very, very shortly. So in case he plays rook c2, I think he has planned it all along. In case he goes like knight c4, changes queens, it means he has missed the move queen e2. It would be very pity for Erigaisi. So close to get to the half finals. And what a miss eventually. Let's see. The next move of Erigaisi is so important for the outcome of the game. Is it okay to play rook to c2 because we have this check now on the first rank? Doesn't look so easy because we have no escape with the king to h2. That's why usually it's much safer to play h4 first and then let's see what happens. But he plays instantly knight d2, queen e2. I think Erigaisi has missed queen to e2. Otherwise, hard to see. I think Erigaisi is missing queen e2. It would be amazing miss by Erigaisi. Such a good position, much more time on the clock. And now what's next? Knight c4, for example. Now black can change the rooks and can change the queen, so black can even choose. Let's say take, and rook d2 is looking nice for black. I think this is just so close to be a draw. So out of position with a big advantage after knight d2, queen e2, eventually position is so close to draw. I think white has to try with the move rook c2. There is just nothing else, but probably Erigaisi has missed this idea, queen to e2. Very, very pity for all the Indian fans, I guess. Indian fans been hoping that Erigaisi is so close to the half finals. Of course, they're cheering for the only Indian player left. But now, maybe this is just equal. Yeah, let's see. Let's go back to the game of Donchenko against Yakubboev. So we have this bishop b1 been played and bishop e2 by Yakubboev. I think bishop e2, pretty nice play because f3 is under attack. f3 cannot be defended. Yes, white is capable of taking the pawn on c6, and probably white is going to take the pawn on c6. But the question is, rook takes c6, king to d7. What's next? Where do we go with the white rook? Do we put it on, let's say, a6? And just a simple bishop takes f3. Now, black wants to take on g2, after take on e3. In case of check, just the king gets to c6. What's next? So I think position still looks pretty equal. I don't see something special for white, so I think it's still probably a draw. Yakubboev with just 3 minutes, so this could be the only little trouble for Yakubboev. He's short on time. Otherwise, I don't see how to play this position for a win with white. Rook is hanging. Next move is bishop takes f3, so it seems to be just equal. I guess the game should end in a draw. I don't see something else. I don't see a better outcome for white. And with a draw, Yakubboev gets to half final. So, of course, very, very special result for the player from Uzbekistan. We have rook c5 being played. Let's see. Bishop takes f3 probably is going to happen next as well. Black might consider something like bishop c4, trying to trap the rook on c5. The next move, maybe knight b7, but to be honest, this is looking strange. Maybe it is working to play bishop c4, but looks a bit artificial, so not sure that black should play it. This looks somehow, I don't know, maybe possible, but why not just to take on f3 and to make a draw? So bishop takes f3, defending the pawn on d5. Next move is bishop takes g2. In case of knight to f4, I think we can just take the pawn on e3. So next move is rook b3 eventually, or rook e1. This is just a completely equal position. There is no way that white can try to win here. This is just a draw. So let's see. Let's go back to the game of Erigaisi against Wei. Yes, we have the move rook c2 been played. I guess it is the only way for white to try to win the game. There is nothing better than that. Rook c2. Now the b7 pawn is hanging. On the other hand, black can check the white king on the first rank. As well, in case of knight e4, there is a rook to d1, which looks like a mate. We have queen d1 check. Quite logical. Now white has to decide to put the knight on f1 or to put bishop to f1. In both cases, this is not what Erigaisi wanted to do. I think now we can obviously see that knight d2 is a huge blunder by white. So queen d1, still some hopes to win this position for white, or there are no objective hopes? I think little hopes, very, very little hopes. Probably we are going to see knight f1 to keep at least a good bishop on g2, so some pressure on the pawn. b7, black might play something simple like b6 followed by knight c5, so huge knight on c5. Maybe very difficult now for white to get anything spectacular. Still, white can play on by playing something like rook c1, trying to get out the black queen from the first rank. The queen might go a4, for example. Still, knight c5 coming next. Small advantage for white. It's very, very small advantage by having the better bishop versus the worse knight, but it is maybe just too small. This is a very, very small advantage in comparison to what white had before. So somehow Wei recovered a little bit. Yes, indeed, we have the move b6 been played, I think. Let's see what happens next. So let's go quickly back to the game of Donchenko and Yakubboev. Yes, indeed, we have the move bishop f3 been played and bishop d3. So Donchenko is hoping to take the pawn on b5, but it's not enough to win the game. So if I would be Yakubboev now, I think I would just take the knight on g2. So let's say just take the pawn on e3, bishop takes b5 is forced just to take, and this rook and game was equal pawns. It has to be a draw. It's I cannot imagine that this can be something else than a draw. So for example, to play king to c6, looking like actually quite a safe draw. Rook on e3, beautiful rook, cutting the white king. In case white is gonna win the a4 pawn, we're gonna win the b pawn on b2, which also guarantees a draw. I think it's just a draw. So there might be something better than bishop g2, but the question is, draw is enough for black, so why to search for something better? Of course, with the black pieces, we can try to play move like rook b8 followed by b4, for example. Still, position is equal, no doubt about it, but why not make just a simple draw and that's it? So let's go back. Erigaisi Wei, we have the move b6 on the board, so probably rook c1 is what is going to happen next. And after rook to c1, black queen has to move. So Wei can go to a4, Wei can eventually go to somewhere like c6 or d7. The main idea for black remains to get the knight to c5. If black gets the knight on c5, the things are more or less fine. And for white, we have to do something with the knight on f1. So, or we're gonna play e4, knight e3, knight to d5, or we try to get knight to d2 followed by knight e4. Yeah, so for example, knight to d2, knight e4. This is the same plan that Erigaisi tried to execute, just he missed the move queen e2. So it would be like a second try, same idea, knight d2, knight e4. Still, I believe move like h4 is very useful move, so probably Erigaisi is gonna play it because it's just so useful for white to have the pawn on h4. It's always a good idea to have the pawn on h4. And then let's see if we go knight to d2, or maybe we're gonna play this move e4 with the idea knight e3 followed by knight d5. So knight d5 also very nice position. The only problem of the move e4 is that it blocks the bishop from g2, so not always a good decision to play e4. Let's see what Erigaisi is going to play next. We are currently move 31. We have 17 minutes for Erigaisi and 3 minutes for Wei. So the Chinese superstar is still under pressure. He has to take very good decisions. 9 moves to go. Just 3 minutes on the clock. Yes, the players are getting 30 seconds per move additional time, but it's so little. It sounds like a lot. but it actually is so little. Also, just imagine the tension currently. The stakes are just so high. Who is going to play the Candidates World Cup and money? I think both players don't care so much, but the spot in the candidates, it's all about that. So stakes are very high. And Donchenko, Yakubboev, yes, indeed. Black took on g2, so safe play, and Yakubboev decides to play king to e6 instead of going for the rook endgame. I don't know. To me, it looks like a bit strange decision because I think the rook endgame is just a draw. I don't see real winning chances for white, but as well, king e6, of course, it's fine to play king e6. Not a bad move. There is knight e4 coming next with a pressure on g3. So most probably bishop c6 has to be played. At least white wants to take the pawn on d5. Yes, it is still a draw. But is it such a simple draw like before? This is the only question that I would ask myself. Draw, yes, but maybe black could have secured the draw in just more a simple way. Of course, again, still it should be a draw, so there is no change in the evaluation of the position. Position is still a draw. We are currently at the move 39, so just one move to make for Yakubboev. Yakubboev with just seconds on the clock, but just one move to go, so he should be fine doing the last move. With white, I'm quite sure there is bishop c6 coming next. Maybe bishop takes a4, but somehow I don't feel that bishop a4 is the best. Black can choose to play knight e4, but as well, just a simple rook e2 check. So for example, king f3, and now to take on b2. It looks like a draw to me. The a3 pawn is a little weak. We have this knight c4, knight e4. Next, small winning chances for white. Objectively, I believe it's still a draw. So let's see if we have bishop on c6, or maybe there is something super tricky which I don't see, but if white does nothing, then we have the move knight e4. So I think white has to do something fast. Again, king e6, I don't get it. White just not to take the bishop and secure a draw, because this rook endgame, in my opinion, is just a draw. It would be so much easier, just take it and yeah, just make a draw. Let's go back to Wei, Erigaisi, and actually draw agreed. Wow, this is a big surprise to me. Erigaisi offers a draw. Maybe he's just so upset with his move knight d2, so he decided enough is enough. But this is weird. This is so strange, just to offer draw. Of course, rook d2. Yes, he's going for rook takes d2 for the exchanges, and this position is equal, yeah. But it feels so strange to see Erigaisi playing rook d2. I think he was just so upset with his blunder. So here, white is doing much better. He's playing knight d2 with the idea knight e4. He's missing the move queen e2. And yeah, he was just too upset to play on. Still, in my opinion, the position of white is slightly better. So objectively speaking, I think white could have tried to continue playing for a win. So for example, this move rook c1, I like it because we have to do something with the queen on the first rank. Let's say queen a4, and to play maybe something like h4. Idea remains h5, h6. In case black is playing the move h5, now we have to think to go back to the idea knight d2, knight e4, or to try the idea of e4 and then knight e3. In both cases, I believe that white is doing slightly better. It's of course not much, obviously, a very small advantage for white, but it is better. And I think this is one of the extremely rare cases where I see Erigaisi is offering a draw with white pieces. Usually he's pushing till the end, and even sometimes he is pushing too hard, so you get counter chances. But to see Erigaisi just securing draw, it happens so rare. It happened just so rare. I can only explain that he played knight d2, he missed the move queen e2, he got very upset and he said, it's not my day, so let's make a draw. Tomorrow tie breaks. Let's see what happens tomorrow. It's gonna be a huge match, so Erigaisi and Wei both are extremely good in rapid chess. They're so strong in blitz chess. Both fantastic nerves, and they have proved it on multiple occasions. A huge match is going to happen tomorrow between Erigaisi and Wei. So we have already 3 draws today, so at least 3 pairings of tie breaks tomorrow. Now we have Donchenko and Yakubboev. So still Donchenko is hoping to win the game. Yakubboev needs a draw. We have the move bishop c6 been played. Now knight e4. So Yakubboev is not going for rook e2, rook takes b2. He goes knight e4, bishop takes d5, and king d6. So still back to the rook endgame. Probably in case of bishop takes e4, f takes e4, pawn up for white, but probably it is just a draw. The pawn d4 is not so good, the pawn b2 is not so good, the pawn a4 is holding the 2 pawns of white. Should be a draw. Quite sure that this is a draw. So to play here for a win, Donchenko has to do something else, but the rook is hanging on c5. So if we don't take on e4, it means that white probably has to play rook to b5 because there is just nothing else. And currently black can take the pawn on g3. So for example, rook takes g3 check. Let's say king h2. Of course, not the best position for the white king, but there is just nowhere else to go. And rook to d3, attacking the pawn on d4, and it looks like just a draw. Yeah. So no big changes here. Probably the game is going to end in a draw, and we have the first half finalist. It would be Yakubboev. So close. So close. So knight e4, nice move by black. White has to take on e4. There is nothing else for sure. So take. What could be the chance of white? How can we try to play here for a win? For example, rook h5, attacking the pawn on h6. Just a simple check. King h3. Now black takes on b2, white takes on h6, and king to d5. So the black king is just so active, and the pawn e3 is very fast. So there is no way to play this position for a win with the white pieces. Just an impossible task. Objectively speaking, maybe in this rook endgame even black would try to push a little bit. It should be a draw. It should be a draw, but black is out of risk in my opinion. So what can Donchenko do here? There is rook e2 threat, winning the pawn on b2. In case the rook goes somewhere back, so for example rook c2, then there is king d5 and the d4 pawn is going to fall. In case white goes rook b5, trying to hold the b pawn, and as well maybe to play rook to b4 next, protecting the pawn on d4 and as well attacking the pawn on a4. But I think it's not enough to play for a win. Just a simple check on e2, and where to go with the king from g2. So in case we go to h3, quite a bad position for the white king. Theoretically, there is an idea of king g4, king h5, but as well, all this is looking so much artificial. So, for example, we play a simple move like rook f2. Next move could be e3 and e2 next. How to win this position with white? I don't see a way. For example, rook e5, trying to stop the pawn from moving. Now we have the simple move f5. White king on h3, no squares to go. e4 pawn is protected. The extra pawn of white is the pawn on b2, but the pawn a4 of black is just holding the 2 pawns of white. So can Donchenko try to win this position? I don't see how. I don't see a chance for white to play for a win. Donchenko has to find something. Obviously, he's gonna try to find even a small chance, but it doesn't look like there is a small chance. It seems like the game is over, so draw. Probably it's gonna be a draw. I don't see a chance. In case of a draw, Yakubboev gets to the half-finals. Donchenko played an amazing World Cup, but even a dream sometimes has to end. Esipenko against Shankland. Normally, Esipenko should be a favorite in the Rapid and Blitz chess, but Shankland played so well against Dubov and so well against Rapport, so he managed to beat in Rapid chess two much stronger Rapid players. Hard to tell. Maybe Shankland been practicing a lot of Rapid and Blitz before the World Cup. I don't know. Maybe he had some special training camp, or maybe he eats some special food in India. But for sure he's doing something special, because his result here at the World Cup is extraordinary. Much better than his usual result. So spectacular play by Shankland, and a very interesting tiebreak tomorrow. Erigaisi and Wei. The two giants are going to fight. Erigaisi probably a slight favorite, but very, very slight favorite. In Blitz chess, I think Wei is going to be a slight favorite. But first, Wei has to survive the two Rapid matches. So first Rapid match is the long Rapid, and in case of 1-1, then we will see the second Rapid match. It's a bit shorter time control, and in case of still 1-1, then we have to then the players have to play the Blitz. In Rapid chess, my bet is Erigaisi. In Blitz chess, I would put on Wei, but of course the differences between the players are just so small. Both of them are extremely strong, very, very strong. So you never know. By the way, in case you enjoy the content, please subscribe, please give us a like. We just started the channel with Georgi. It's so difficult when you start, so we would really appreciate it in case you help the channel to grow. Let's go back to Donchenko and Yakubboev. Yes, we have the move Bishop e4 been played because there is simply nothing better. And black takes, of course, with a pawn on e4. Now, 17 minutes remain for Donchenko to think about how can I win this position, but I think there is no way. There is no way to win this position. Maybe Donchenko can try something crazy like to play g4, because there is just nothing better with the idea of h5 followed by g5, ag, and then h6. But objectively speaking, of course, again, this is just a draw, but it could be a little try to play g4. I don't think there is something else, actually. Yeah, I think g4 has to be played. Is it big help? No, because after g4, rook d3 is looking very nice to me. Rook takes d4 is coming next, and obviously white should not defend upon on d4, I think, because we have always this king d5, so the black king is getting very active. Maybe something like h5, but rook takes d4. Now the rook c5 is under attack. For example, rook f5, which looks normal, so there's rook f6, rook h6, f7 pawn is hanging, but how to win such a position? There is no way. There is just no way to win it for white. With black, we can play simple move e3, attacking the pawn on g4, and then just e2, or we might play rook d2 check by taking away the pawn on b2 as well. We can play something super safe like king e6, just bringing the king near us, so f7 pawn is protected, h6 pawn cannot be taken. There is no way. There is no way to win this position for Donchenko. The draw is just too simple. Too simple to miss. White has to find something currently. White has to find something special to get at least a little chance, but personally I don't see how to get here any kind of game. It's so simple for black. Just the next move is rook to d3. What can be more simple than that? Or rook e2. So depends what white is going to play next. So simple moves by black. In case the white rook is gonna be moved away, then we have king d5. Also hard to miss. Georgi likes to call this kind of moves zero IQ play because it's just so simple. So very simple play for black. And for White, what to do next? Imagine how Donchenko is feeling currently. He understands that probably it is the end station for him at the World Cup. Such a great play. Just one bad game yesterday, and that's it. Yeah, chess can be cruel, but this is the World Cup, so one player has to go. What to do? I think that's it. I don't see something that Donchenko is capable of doing here with White. So probably he's gonna think for 5 minutes, 10 minutes more, and after that he's gonna try his last chance, and that's it. And both players probably will agree just to a draw, so not much can be done here. By the way, during all that attention is on the World Cup, there is another interesting match is going on, and we can take a look at the match. Just 1 second, please, because somehow my lichess collapsed. Why my lichess is down? We have to give lichess few seconds to reload because somehow it's out of work. Sorry for that, but cannot log into lichess. What is that? Lichess doesn't like me. What to do? We have to wait a little bit till it's loading. It's not loading. How is it possible that lichess is not loading? That's a problem. That's a problem because there's nothing that we can do if it is not loading. Just a second, I try to load it over Google. Maybe we're more lucky. So let's try to get over Google to lichess. Is it working? No. Still not working. What happened to lichess? Usually so stable, so nice, but now I cannot connect to lichess. These are sad news because I wanted to show you guys a match between the Chinese lady and Andreiken that is going on in China currently, but in case I cannot access lichess, then of course it is a trouble. So let's try Cloudfairs. Maybe yes. So you have the same problem, yeah. Seems like there is a little trouble accessing lichess, so sorry for that, but what can I do about it? Let's wait for 1 minute in case the situation will not change. Then that's it for today. Sorry that we have such a abrupt end of the live comments, but what can I do? What can I do? It seems not to work, so let us give a last try. No, still nothing, so I cannot load the lichess. Yeah, this is sad. This is sad, but I guess we have to make a break. So Georgi and me, we're gonna be back today evening. Let's hope that lichess works. Everything is down. Yeah, thank you for the chat. Yes, it's nice to see that you have the same problem, so it's not my problem. So we all have this problem. Good. Then that's it for today. What can I do? Please join us, subscribe, like, in case you like the content, in case you like my comments. Tonight we are going to be back with Georgi, and probably our topic for tonight is going to be attacking games. So we're gonna take a look at some beautiful attacking games. I hope you will enjoy watching us. I hope you have some time as well. We are doing chess without engines, so we want your brain to work. That's it. That's it for today. Probably Donchenko is gonna make the draw, so we have Yakubboev qualifying for the half finals. And tomorrow I'm gonna comment as well on the tiebreak, so it's gonna be very, very interesting. Thank you all for watching. Eventually, see you tonight, approximately 7 p.m. German time. We are going to start, or it would be 10 p.m. UAE time, because both Georgi and me, we are in the UAE. So thank you for watching. Sorry that, yeah, it stopped like that. Not my fault. Lead chess seems to be down. Enjoy your day. I hope you enjoyed the comment, and maybe see you tonight. Please subscribe, like the stream. It will help us a lot. Thank you, and see you.